direct to each other. And we want precise and concise answers to punguze story mingi. And I've also requested the members that avoid unnecessary preambles to your questions. You just ask your questions so that they can be responded to. So to start in earnest, Honorable Murkomen, give us a short, no more than 5-minute opening statement, telling us your name, your educational background, your work experience, your key competences that make you suitable for the appointment to which you have been nominated as Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for this opportunity. First, let me start by appreciating His Excellency the President for nominating me for a second time to serve this Republic. And should I be approved by this House, I will do it with dignity and vigor. Mr. Speaker, I am born and brought up in the eastern slopes of Cherangani Hills, a place called Embobut, where I went to school, and thereafter went both to St. Joseph's High School, Kitale, and St. Patrick's High School, Iten. Both schools are sports giants. As a matter of fact, St. Joseph's Kitale did exceptionally well this year in the football matches, but St. Patrick's High School has always been known to be the athletics powerhouse. I brushed shoulders with world champions and gold medalists, some of whom were my classmates, but I didn't run. Instead, I was a footballer, Mr. Speaker, and I did fairly well based on the standards then in the district. The Speaker, thereafter, I joined the University of Nairobi to study law at the University of Nairobi School of Law, and graduated in 2004. Thereafter, I was awarded a scholarship to study for a postgraduate degree in law at the University of Pretoria, where I did a master's degree in trade and investment law in Africa. And thereafter, I also went to the American University Washington College of Law, where I did another degree, a master's degree in international law. Mr. Speaker, I was in between. Before the master's program, I did my privilege and was admitted I actually was awarded a diploma in law and thereafter admitted to the bar. Mr. Speaker, upon return from the United States in 2007, I was employed to teach at the Catholic University of Nairobi, where I am very proud of the first cohort of my students in my time, one of whom is the president of the Law Society of Kenya. Thereafter, Mr. Speaker, I joined Moi University as also, I taught in Moi University until the time I resigned in 2012 to join politics. In between, I was an adjunct lecturer at the University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, and a few other colleges and institutions. And Honorable Junaid Mohammed was a beneficiary of that knowledge, Mr. Speaker, in the legal profession. Mr. Speaker, other than that, I need to say that the most relevant part of this experience in the university and college, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that throughout my tenure from high school to the university, I was a student leader. As a matter of fact, at the University of Nairobi, I was the first student to be elected to the president of the Law Society in my second year. And Mr. Speaker, I also served as chair for SONU for a short period of time as we reconstituted SONU. And Mr. Speaker, I also was the CU chair, not just for the University of Nairobi, but all the CUs in the country. I am a product of student movement. I have been brought up, mentored, both in Christian leadership circles and also in the political movement of students. When you say CU means Christian Union. Christian Union, yes.
Someone can think it's Cafeteria Union.
It's not CCU at the University of Nairobi. It's actually, Mr. Speaker, the Christian Union. Mr. Speaker, I was the president of the Fellowship of Christian Unions leadership across the country. Mr. Speaker, beyond that, I need to say that I also was a board member of the Youth Agenda. where our focus was to make sure that we mainstream youth issues. Mr. Speaker, I have worked with many civil society, both as a consultant but also as a volunteer in the board. I do a lot of sports-related issues. Mr. Speaker, I was the captain of Bunge FC, and I see my members here, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Kikaria was a fantastic midfielder, a bit aggressive sometimes, but Mr. Speaker, I was the captain, and we did exceptionally well during my tenure, and I scored so many goals in different countries in East Africa. I say this, Mr. Speaker, because of the relevance of this sector of creative economy, youth, and sports. And Mr. Speaker, I'm a passionate sports fan, Mr. Speaker, and I believe that my nomination shall contribute to making the issues of the youth, Mr. Speaker, successful. I need to conclude by saying that I was elected in 2013 as a very young leader, not too young, but at least within the bracket of the youth. I was 32 years old. I came to the Senate, Mr. Speaker, and served immediately, nominated to serve in Pan-African Parliament, became the chair of devolution committee, graduated quickly to become the deputy majority leader. By second term, Mr. Speaker, I was the majority leader in the Senate. And Mr. Speaker, in my third term, in all these situations, the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County elected me 3 times by a minimum of 75% of the votes. As a matter of fact, the last term, I was elected by 90% of the votes. Mr. Speaker, in all these processes of leadership, I got an opportunity to serve as a cabinet secretary for roads and transport, a position I held for until the 11th of 11th of July, when the president dissolved the cabinet. Mr. Speaker.
He didn't dissolve, he dismissed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Until then, I served in that capacity, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Murkomen. Welcome. I'll now invite the Deputy Speaker to be the first to ask you a question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, my questions will just be two-way, where you're going and where you had come from, because we will judge your competence as a Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports based on your performance in your previous position of Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport. So I'd like you to tell us what you found when you went to the Ministry of Roads and Transport, and then what were your key achievements, and what is your legacy, so to speak, so that if we are to assess what Murkomen did during that time, we can be able to judge you by that. And then secondly, I'd like you to now tell us what is your vision when you go to the Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports docket. What's your vision of it? What are the challenges you have? Because you've been listening out, you've been in cabinet, you know what the challenges are, and you can make explanation on that. And as you know, I've been very vocal about that particular ministry. Thank you.
Proceed to answer.
Thank you, Mr.
And we expect
Speaker.
concise and precise responses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I start by saying that my greatest success in the Ministry of Roads and Transport is leadership. My first responsibility was to be a leader, to put together a team that works together, to make sure that the ministry and the state agencies are working together seamlessly, Mr. Speaker. Some of the agencies that I found dysfunctional, especially Kenya Airports Authority, with too many of its senior staff acting. I made sure that, Mr. Speaker, we fixed that problem, because that problem was the cause of the other systemic problem within the institution itself. Mr. Speaker, I operated and worked with the managing directors, director generals, the PSS as a team, and at no time, Mr. Speaker, did you hear any squabbles in the ministry. Number two, the second success for me is to be able to lead for the 2 years with integrity and honor, without, Mr. Speaker, bringing my office into any disrepute. And Mr. Speaker, for the 2 years, no accusation was leveled against me, Mr. Speaker, of any kind on matters of integrity. I carried myself with honor. I uphold acts of corruption. I managed to lead and remove some of our staff, Mr. Speaker, in some of the agencies, including Kenya Rural Roads Authority, that had become, Mr. Speaker, difficult for my predecessor to remove them because of acts of corruption. And Mr. Speaker, in terms of delivery, Mr. Speaker, despite the difficult situation we found ourselves with pending bills, we were able to work together as a team with all the roads agencies to deliver about 1,000 kilometers of tarmac roads, both new roads and, Mr. Speaker, the ones that were being reconstructed. All of these roads are in small bits and pieces. You'll find one like Thika Magumu in Kiambu, or the road from Mtwapa to Kilifi, or the road from Kwanjumbu, Mariakani, or Masera Sori in Homa Bay, or the towns of Embu, Kericho, Bungoma, and other towns in the country. Cumulatively, Mr. Speaker, we did about 1,000 kilometers of roads, despite the difficulties we had with the budget. Mr. Speaker, on the part of development funds, I reorganized, Mr. Speaker, and pushed for the contracts that had been delayed for construction of the roads from Isiolo to Wajir to Mandera. And now, Mr. Speaker, all the contracts have been awarded under the African Development Bank and World Bank funding projects, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also led the process of ensuring that, Mr. Speaker, we get funds for our roads. Remember, when I came here, we had a huge pending bill, and it was very difficult for us to solve that issue. His Excellency the President gave me the opportunity to travel to China to work with our development partners, and through my efforts, Mr. Speaker, and collective efforts of the team in government, I managed to raise 37 billion shillings from the China Development Bank to support about 15 roads that, Mr. Speaker, gladly, unfortunately, I didn't live to see its completion, but they are commencing, Mr. Speaker, from the month of August. Mr. Speaker, beside that, I also pushed for the resources to construct the intelligent traffic system. I promised when I came for vetting here. Now the intelligent traffic system has been advertised. 221 junctions are going to be fixed in the Nairobi city, Mr. Speaker, for that technology. I led the process also of PPPs. From the road from Mombasa to Nairobi, the American government, American investor, Mr. Speaker, has made a proposal, and that proposal is ongoing because we have facilitated them. Mr. Speaker, we had a problem with the Rironi Mau Summit, one of the most popular cases. There was an existing contract that I took a step of courage, Mr. Speaker, to mutually terminate. And Mr. Speaker, we should be able, as the President promised, also to advertise after September when the mutual termination period is over, so that we get a contractor by January next year. Mr. Speaker, in the road sector also, I'd like to say that, Mr. Speaker, we have done a commendable job to raise resources. My last act in that office, Mr. Speaker, was to make sure that we get resources for maintaining our roads. When I came to Parliament several times, because these questions were asked, I appraised the country that we have what we call orphaned roads. And these roads are, especially in Kenya, rural roads, and they needed significant resources. Our demand per year for maintaining the roads is 150 billion, Mr. Speaker, yet we only raised 84 billion. This year, I took the significant step, did the public participation, and eventually we were able to increase the road maintenance levy by 7 shillings, working together with the petroleum sector to make sure that that increase did not make the cost of petroleum higher than it is. If there's something significant I'm leaving back in this ministry for the benefit of the honorable members who are here, we shall be having now constituency roads management having at least 100 million shillings in every constituency, up from 62 million in the last financial year. And we should be able to fix the problems that we have in our roads. That needed leadership, needed boldness, Mr. Speaker, to make that significant contribution. Mr. 6 million TEUs of cargo, up from 1.4. And this year, Mr. Speaker, we are going to handle 2 million TEUs. In also that sector, Mr. Speaker, we have increased investment. Murkomen, especially Lake Victoria. Now the oil transport that I saw Honorable Wandai speaking about, now fuel is being transported across Lake. We don't need to burden the roads across to Uganda. Mr. Speaker, we are also building piers in Kisumu and also getting a ferry from Fangano Island. Some of those investments, Mr. Speaker, were based on the things we did. In the Lapsset corridor, for the first time, the Lamu port was able to handle significant cargo, 60 million metric tons of fertilizer destined towards Ethiopia, based on our diplomatic work within the Lapsset corridor. Now Lapsset corridor is functioning. The road from Lamu to Ijara, Mr. Speaker, which was a Maram road, we made sure that we fixed that problem. Now a tarmac road is being constructed. It's on the way. We have up to February next year to make sure that that tarmac road is delivered to Ijara, and the road from Ijara to Isiolo is also ongoing, Mr. Speaker. I look forward within next year that the Lapsset corridor will be completed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also did some work at the airport. You remember that when I arrived, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport was a place of shame. All the airports do not have a maintenance policy. Mr. Speaker, after fixing the human resource, we made sure also we fixes the maintenance policy. Now we've been able to fix Jomo Kenyatta International Airport drainage system. We've also been dealt with the roofing, and Mr. Speaker, there is a progress in that direction. We've also fixed, Mr. Speaker, many of the other airports. There was a lighting problem in Eldoret. Wilson Airport, for many of us who are here who've used the Wilson Airport, you know that it's full of potholes and bumps, Mr. Speaker. Now we have awarded a contract to make sure that the aprons and the runway is redone afresh, because Wilson Airport is among the top. We completed also contracts that were pending for our airstrips in Anyuki, airstrip in Nakuru now are ongoing. We finished the Matulo airstrip, Mr. Speaker. We opened new routes for airlines to go to Kabundo in Homa Bay. We did in Migori, Mr. Speaker. We did also new route to Kakamega. Mr. Speaker, now our airspace is booming. I opened doors, Mr. Speaker, for new airlines. We have Fly Dubai now flying to Mombasa. Air Indigo is now flying directly from India to Nairobi. And one of my last also responsibilities was to grant Etihad a flight to come back to Nairobi. All this is done balancing, Mr. Speaker, with the interest of the Kenya, Mr. Speaker, Kenya Airways. If tip of the things we have succeeded to do. Let me, and I just in 2 more minutes, Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, is to say that in the railway sector, we've done a very good job to revamp the commuter rail system in the city of Nairobi, increasing the 10 stations in the city. We significantly pushed the Kumi program of the World Bank, which will give us 60 billion shillings to revamp the commuter rail system in the city. And Mr. Speaker, that will also lead to increasing the stations and therefore significantly reduce climate impact in the city and pollution, because we will be using mass transit of the railway. Mr. Speaker, we have done so also by connecting Mombasa to Miritini itself, and we are doing a construction of Riruta, Mr. Speaker, all the way to Ngong and hopefully then to Rongai, so that then we can significantly move our people using commuter rail. I was in the process of getting funding, working together with private sector and Ugandan government to make sure that we extend the railway from Naivasha to Kampala. I believe that my successor, the person who comes after me, my successor, Mr. Speaker, will continue from where we left insofar as that is concerned. There are so many other things we've done in the transport sector, in the Namata. All these will be now factors of history, and we shall have the time to be able to speak. That even as we accuse the government, and there is a general accusation across board, that unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, no matter how much we try to publicize these great things we have done, it is trounced by criticism and predetermined programming, Mr. Speaker, to label certain people as a failure. I have worked passionately, committed to deliver my work, working sometimes up to midnight, Mr. Speaker, and this is a job I look back and say the last 2 years have been exciting for me, and I look forward to also taking the same energy and vigor to the next ministry. Mr. Speaker, the vision I have for the young people of this republic, there are many people who have asked themselves that, you know, why Murkomen? Why is he being put here? I believe that, Mr. Speaker,